We live in such a cruel world, and it seems there's so many individuals that don't realize that. And the second that anybody brings that up, the first thing they do is call you crazy, or they say you're being negative, or they say you're depressed, or they say that just something's wrong with you mentally and you need some type of therapy. Why do I need therapy? Why do you think that I'm depressed? Why do you think I'm miserable for just stating facts? Reality is not a beautiful thing all the time. It's not something to make jokes about. It's not something to take lightly. So what's up with that? Like, I know there's a such thing as the Matrix, and we're literally living in it, and the people that wake up from it usually get the bad end of the stick. But what's so bad about being logical? What's so bad about looking at reality and just accepting it as it is? Why do we have to be mistreated or seen as crazy people for looking at reality as it is? You kind of don't really have a choice when it comes to reality, because no one asks to be born. We're just forced here, right? So what the hell is wrong with me stating facts? It's not like these things are opinions. They're literal facts. There are things in life that we have to deal with, not because we want to, but because we have to. Like working and going to school and taking care of our families and taking care of our health and our mental health and, all that whatnot. All of those things are part of reality. You're not mentally ill or crazy or stupid for pointing those things out. Things like procreating and struggling with bills, struggling with your mental health, struggling with marriage, or just anything. All of those things are part of reality. What's so wrong about talking about those things? I mean, we live in such a cruel world where all of those things are happening. All those things are taking place. Us paying bills, us struggling with our mental health and all that whatnot. All those things are going on, but our surroundings around us are not always dandy. And I wish more people would just realize that that's a reality. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad. It just is. And we're stuck in this existence until we pass away. I don't see what's wrong with talking about it. I mean, we kind of don't have any other choice but to talk about it.
Don't ever change for anybody. Don't ever trade your soul. Don't even listen to him. He don't know nothing at all. Try not to get too involved, but really it's breaking my heart how you keep changing for him. Never forget who you are. Butterfly.
We live in a world where parents have their kids just to punish them when they're the ones that decided to have them. We live in a world where loved ones kill other loved ones. We live in a world where parents send their kids off to school not knowing if that's the last time they'll see them. We live in a world where kids go to school and that could end up being their gravesite because of a shooter. We live in a world where little girls and little boys are being manipulated and controlled without being aware of it, to think and speak and act a certain way until their parents get tired of them. We live in a world where people are judged for just simply being themselves. We live in a world where people that look like me are hung and murdered and sexually assaulted and beat and starved to death. We live in a world where people look at our appearance before looking at our personality and what we're bringing to the table. We live in a world where the masses are controlled by media and religion and politics. We live in a world where parents bring their kids here without any thought about it. No thought about how they're going to be dealing with life in their adulthood, how they're going to be dealing with life in their teen years and as children. We live in a world where people get married and they don't even love each other. Or they get married and they don't really feel in their heart that that person is their other half. We live in a world where people use each other to make themselves feel better. We live in a world where war and disease is never ending. It's never ending. It's constantly happening. It's ongoing. It never stops. And we live in a world where racism and sexism happens to be one of those diseases. We live in a world where serial killers, rapists, and other sex offenders and other negative people like narcissists are just walking around with their heads held high as if they don't acknowledge the wrong that they've done to the people around them. We live in a world where people are congratulated for procreating, something so normal and praised and glorified. People are congratulated for that. But men and women aren't congratulated for graduating from college, for beating cancer, for adopting an animal, for losing weight, and any other accomplishment that a man or woman puts to their mind. No one ever congratulates them or pats them on the back for it. But someone can get congratulated for simply being intimate and bringing a baby here, as if that's just something to just glorify. We live in a world where animals have more sense than people. Animals have the sense to not harm those around them unless they've been harmed first. We live in a world where animals have more compassion and empathy for those around them, and they have nothing but love in their hearts. We live in a world where adults, the older generation you could say, don't really feel the need to acknowledge the younger generation and all the struggles that they've gone through being the younger generation, and vice versa. We live in a world where there's a battle of the sexes, where men and women don't acknowledge that we're all humans and that this endless fight is just really asinine and really stupid, and we should just put an end to it. But we live in a world where that's probably never going to happen. We live in a world where there are people that actually want to get married and date, but the toxicity that's just spreading all over social media and in real life keeps those individuals from doing so. Because people are so heartbroken and traumatized. Because we live in a world where in the household, parents are miserable and kids are traumatized. And then those kids grow up to become damaged adults. And we live in that type of world. The list goes on, but those are the many reasons why I don't see myself being a parent, because we live in that type of world. How can I bring a child here with that type of reality? You see, I was born into this. I didn't ask for that, but here I am. Here I am in that type of world. And here you are and many other people around you. This isn't me being negative. This isn't me showing a depressed side of me. This is me being very vulnerable and just telling you guys as it is. We live in such a wicked world. There are people and there are things in this world that can tear the soul apart, so apart that it can never be fixed again. There are some wounds that some people have to live with because they were born into such a world. And there are some scars that people have to constantly look at in the mirror and on themselves from events and experiences that took place in their life. And those individuals I wouldn't say are unhappy, but they acknowledge that they've gone through some things, because that's the type of world we live in. With pain comes pleasure. And just as quick as you can get happy, that could be knocked down just as quick by a mishap or a bad experience in life. And we live in that type of world. And when you acknowledge it, you're called crazy. Something's wrong with you, or you good, you depressed. No, I'm fine. I'm woke. That's what I am. I'm woke and I'm aware. That's why I can't just procreate and breed like rabbits. That's why I can't do anything without thinking about it first. I have to really think about it. I have to be very logical and analytic about everything in life, because this world is cruel. If this world was perfect, if everyone was perfect, or at least just any form of good and just good being alone, then I wouldn't have to, I wouldn't have to depend on my logic and my analytic mind. I wouldn't have to depend on those things all the time. Like just something as simple as going to my car at night, right? Or going to the grocery store alone, or going around a group of people that I don't know, or just going to work, and even making this video. I'm still human. I still have experiences. But to bring a life here to deal with those exact same things, what would I tell that life? What would I tell that person when they're heartbroken and they're confused and they want answers and I don't have those answers? What would that make me look like? Because I can't comfort them, because what they're going through, I either already have gone through it or I know someone that has gone through it. But what do I say? That's just what life is? What kind of bullshit answer is that? How can I look them in the face and wipe their tears just to turn around and watch them be hurt again, and have to wipe their tears again just for it to keep happening over and over and over and over again? Because life is not sunshine and rainbows. That's why I have to be logical. That's why I have to be analytic. That's why I have to be that way. Because life itself is such a scary thing, and you can lose it in the blink of an eye. You could drop dead. You could die in your sleep. The list goes on. Like I said, I'm not being negative. This is just reality. And there are some people that don't want to wake up and look at that reality. They just want to live in this fantasy. And it's not like that. Life is what you make it. But off the bat, it's a very scary thing. And this world is very cruel. We have to make life what we want it to be, because it's moldable. But at the same time, it's not, because we can't control the things around us. And that's what we need to remember. We live in that type of world. And we should acknowledge that we live in that type of world. Acknowledging that doesn't make you crazy. It makes you woke. And a lot of you are not woke. And it hurts to watch.